Shot 13 minutes. Cool, perfect. Welcome everybody to the Blerdlines. This is your man Cam. With me, as always, is
Wagwan brethren, the other Cam,
as well as
Admiral Josh,
and bringing up the rear, always keeping us honest,
the Professor and Lord of Light. Light. That's what we're going with today.
If you know, you know. Lord of Light. Think about it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Burning children at the stake and all that. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Come on.
That tracks.
Come on.
Copy that.
There was other things. It wasn't just that.
Copy that.
And we're here talking about Predator, Kill of Killers. And most of us have seen it, but we wanted to hop on and talk about it because we were all pleasantly surprised overall how good it was. But yeah, so if you don't know, this is kind of a spiritual successor to Prey, which debuted on Hulu by Dan Trachtenberg. And this is animated series. It was a kind of more of an anthology situation where they had three separate stories and then they combined it into the third act. Again, this is one of those ones where they kind of announced it and we're all just like, oh, that's cool. We saw a poster for it. Then we saw a trailer and it was kind of like, oh, this looks interesting. But in unfashion, actually, D watched it first and he was the one that convinced us to hop on and get on it. So I'll toss it to D first to kind of get your first impressions especially since you are not necessarily the biggest animation fan and not in terms of just like, you don't like it. It's just that that's not your preferred medium. So This was something that was a little bit different for you.
Right. Yeah. Different indeed. I mean, I had no idea that this was even planned or a thing that was coming out. I only knew that following Prey, Dan Trachtenberg was going to direct Predator Badlands, which is releasing, I think, at the end of the summer, maybe the top of the fall. I don't have that exact date, but it is coming this year. And they've shown trailers for it. But so when I saw that this had been released, Predator Killer of Killers, it's an animation. I checked. It was only like an hour and 20 minutes. I love Predator. Watched it. No problem. Pleasantly surprised in every way. Like really good storytelling, really great character development. And amazing that for little small micro narratives that are all sort of separated separated by centuries, and only brought together through that common shared fact that they've encountered a yachtja, a predator. Amazing development, character first kind of storytelling. The first one is Shield, a Viking warrior, Valkyrie type warrior woman who defeats a predator. And then you have the ninja and the samurai, which was my personal favorite, versus the predator. I mean, that whole setup with the haiku to begin and ended first out of context and then ends with now you know exactly the meaning of the words. I mean, it was just, I was impressed by, I think, the overall balance through and through. Good writing. I don't take issue with the animation because I'm not as well versed in terms of the different types. So for me, the animation was what it was, and I didn't have a problem with it. It didn't hurt my eyes or make me feel nauseous while I was watching. So it was overall a really good, really solid film that made me look forward to Predator Badlands, which at first I was just like, okay, here comes another Predator film. It could be good or it might be bad because let's face it, this is what, a 30-year-old franchise at this point. So, and it's been spread across comics and everything. But, you know, the best part, other than the anthology stories, the three narratives that all converge at the end, was the opening up of the Predator mythology. The first time you get the yachtja, the mention of the actual name of the species of the of the predator, and we go into their civilization and see exactly how they operate. These are intelligent beings, probably far more intelligent than human, ironically, as we see them as monsters, which they are in every sense of the word. But yeah, solid animated film, especially if you are a fan of, I think, animated stories, whether it be Japanese or American. I think this will satisfy you and make you want more.
Yeah, I was like, as the resident art geek here, when I was watching it, the things that I noticed was like the storyboarding from the beginning to the end was amazing. Like just every shot that they put together, the flow of the action, like it was really fun. And each individual vignette could have been its own little separate movie. And they did a really good job of making sure that they separated out. So even when it was in Japan, it had the flow of the ninja, the flow of the samurai, and how they did everything. When it was in the Viking in the Norse, it was very gritty and very in your face, very bloody, a lot of gore, and very just almost rough and tumble. And even in the American one with the fighter pilot, like the dog fighting was really, really cool. And like the way they set everything up. And so they just really did a good job of each vignette had its own like lived in kind of a world, and it felt different. And also too, going back to the art style, character design for each individual predator for each one was really, really cool. And it felt they didn't feel like just some generic predator. It was like, oh, they had very specific things. The Norse one, he had one arm, one hand missing, and he had almost like an extra weapon. The Japanese one was a little bit more stealthy and how he had his stuff. And even the fighter pilot in the World War II one, same thing. So it was really cool that they split it up and they made each one individual little thing, and they had their. And I actually liked it too because each protagonist had different ways of dealing with the predator in a way that would work. So it's
they had to adapt, which is the whole thing. You're humans. We don't see ourselves as apex predators, but in a sense we are. And so this is like the way that story creates that narrative theme. It plays into how they have to adapt to fight the predator, and that was really well done.
Yeah, and it was and it's funny because as I was watching it, it felt like video games for each vignette, right? So the first one, I was like, oh, okay, I'm in Valheim, I'm in, Assassin's Creed, Valhalla. And the second one, I was on Ghost of Tsushima, and I was just like, okay, I see what you guys are doing. The third one, I was like, okay, this is like a 1942 type of drag thing, and the way they did it. And I like that each individual protagonist had their own thing that was good, so that when it came together at the end, each one could use their skill set to help them kind of overcome what was going on. Josh, you got to watch it. You watched it as well. So
quick question.
Go ahead.
Pass it, Josh. So I didn't watch it to my own fault, but I wanted to comment. It sounds like there's 3 episodes and it's set in different time periods, right?
Yeah. Oh, we should have started with that. So basically what it is Kill of Killers is basically, it's almost like an anthology movie. It's about 90-minute runtime, a little bit over. And so each one is set in a different time period. So the first one, you have a kind of like a Viking time period. Next one is in Japan, and then the third one is like 1940s, like World War II dogfighting, that kind of stuff.
Japan in 1600
feudal Japan,
feudal
Japan. So full blown ninja, shogunate, ninja, and samurai and all that stuff. And to the
According
Viking,
to Wikipedia, is 1609 Japan.
Yes, and I think the Viking is 841 or something like that.
1942.
The Viking.
No, the Viking.
Viking. The year 841.
Yes. 841 Scandinavia. Yeah.
And I would say the other cool thing about that was you see these different types of time periods, but when you see these protagonists all together at the same time, it shows that the predators in general, they almost exist outside of Earth's time. So they're picking these 3 together, and they're all on the ship together, but they just came from their specific time. So so now as the audience member, we're like, oh, y'all just don't, time for you works differently. So you guys just come in, pick who you want, and kind of go, and then can keep going from there.
Yeah. So there's 3 different predators, or 1 predator throughout each?
3
different. Wow. So it's 3. Literally 3 different centuries. And so they show us later that they have a really advanced suspended animation tech. So I think the implication was that they had plucked those three, but they had them. We don't know what the actual time that they woke them up, but they had them all preserved and suspended in animation. They kept them alive beyond when they were supposed. They're all
They're
at
all
least
out of
two of
time.
them are a couple of centuries old because they're out of time. Yes, exactly, Josh.
Is there any connection to other movies in this, or is this an isolated show?
Yes and no. I mean, it's connected to the larger Predator. Wait, have you seen Prey? Yes. Okay. So then yes. Then yes. Then yes.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I have seen Prey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then yes.
There's a connection.
There's a direct connection. I don't want to spoil that for you.
But Josh, how did you feel like as you watched it?
I was, like you, pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect much from it. And it wasn't until D'Angelo was like, you need to make this high priority viewing, like, which is not something I hear from D'Angelo on a regular basis. So, and you, likewise with you said similar. I mean, that's two endorsements I can't ignore. So, I made it the very next thing that I watched, and the look on my face right now is the look I had on my face while I was watching. I was just like sitting there, eyebrows raised, like this is exceptional. This is inspired, exceptional storytelling. The stop action sort of looking art style of the first vignette was, it wasn't necessarily my thing, but it worked. I can't explain why it worked or how it worked. That's probably something more for you, Cam, being the artist in the group. But I got to tell you, this was exceptional storytelling, and I had zero complaints. I wouldn't have changed. Usually, between the four of us, we usually will watch something and be like, oh, it would have been better if they did this, or, I would have changed that. Even without the art style being something that's my personal favorite, like for the Viking portion of the storytelling, wouldn't have changed a thing. Would not have changed a single solitary thing. 10 out of 10. It is perfect. I rarely ever utter that word when it comes to anybody's medium. I would not change a single thing. It was great storytelling. They developed a great narrative. It pulled you in. And what I liked about the vignette style of storytelling is there was no wasted time. Like you knew what the deal was with every character within the first couple minutes. I wouldn't even say couple minutes, like literally, unless you're saying literally two, like the first minute to 2 minutes, you knew exactly what was going on with the ninja and the samurai. You knew exactly what their deal was with Ursa, the Viking. You knew exactly what her deal was. You knew that her father had been killed. You knew that she was trying to get her son, sort of bring her son along into the warrior aspect of Viking lifestyle. And he was sort of peaceful and still kind of innocent. With Martinez, I believe was his name, the World War II Torres. Thank you.
Yes.
With Torres, the World War II pilot, you knew exactly what his deal was. They weren't letting Hispanic or Latinos fly planes. So he was a mechanic, and
relegated to that.
Yeah, and so you knew exactly, and he had aspirations of being a pilot. You knew exactly what everybody's deal was out the gate,
and each one adding to that, each one kind of takes from that the mythology or the sort of cornerstone of like Americanism or Viking culture from those legends, and samurai ninja culture from those legends. Those sort of reoccurring themes, like the murdered father, and then the vengeful heir that comes back, and that's sort of those two harmonious warriors, and the American segregation, but through that you still have the human narrative of the growing up of the tourists growing up and things like that. So just wanted to add that to what you were saying. Like it's all there, but it does it in such a way that it doesn't have to be a whole hour or 15 minutes devoted to trying to develop those themes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also too, it's like they did a good job of like within, like just like Josh said, within those first like 5 to 10 minutes, you know who the character is, you know what their motivations are, and boom, let's go to the story. And you get it hits the ground running, and then you're kind of like you're getting a good taste of what was going on. And also too, what's cool is whatever was going on with the protagonist first, they have their own issues, and then the predator comes. Yes. So that's the part that I liked a lot. Like I like that. For Ursa, the shield
they give you the subplot first, and then the overarching narrative of also I have to fight a predator in the middle.
Yeah, because really they have it like we're from, as usual, we see the predator's point of view, right? So we see the predators watching them, and I think that was good. They leaned into that because then it allowed us from seeing them from the predator's point of view to see these real human narratives before the predator enters the fray. And like I said to Josh, it was literally the food chain imagery where I eat something eats that, then something eats that, and then here comes the predator, something. Because literally when they get their victory, the predator smacks them, and it's on, like they're ready to take the skull.
And I like that was the thing. So say for instance, the good thing about the narrative is if the predator wasn't in any of these narratives, this would have been a fun like anthology story, like little vignettes of something going on.
Still be good.
They already had a complete story from beginning, middle to the end. And so then if you took the predator out of each one of these stories, it would still be a good story. And I think that's the part that I really liked. So that once you get to that character's ending, okay, cool, I killed the bad guy, or I slayed the dragon, or whatever it was, then like you said, boom, the predator's like, oh, you're the hero of the story. Let me smack you up real quick.
And I like that. I like that the predator in some instances targeted one person thinking, oh, he's the strongest guy, so I'll just wait for him. Ends up being wrong sometimes, and then ends up having to take on the other guy who may not be the more powerful, like the predator thought, but is the more cunning, the cleverer one, the tactician, the smarter one, the survivalist. And
this
like you said,
this all reminds me when you in Street Fighter you beat M. Bison, and then Akuma walks out. You're like, what the hell?
Same deal.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's like overall, like from just the narrative aspect of it, that's what made this the whole thing really, really fun. And then one of the cool things I would say from a narrative aspect is, I had to double check it. So Third Floor is the one that basically did this animation. This is their first fully animated a project. They're a post-visualization company. They do a lot of stuff. So they did the Marvels, they did Guardians of the Galaxy, they did Halo, they've done a bunch of other, they did Game of Thrones, they've done House of Dragon. So they're a post-viz. They have a great resume. They're a post-viz situation. So this is their full-length animation for themselves, which if this is your first one out the gate, you definitely have some chops to go forward, because this is on par with something like Arcane or those aspects. And Arcane, that's a French studio that's been killing it. And like they that same thing with Arcane. They were only doing small little music videos and small commercials before they did Arcane as a full-on series. So like this company doing this as a movie, I can see them taking a series and doing some really, really cool stuff for it. The last thing we can talk about is like the last act, which is kind of cool because, the movie basically shows, hey, these are the 3 prisoners that we have, quote unquote, and this is their story. And then once we get to the final story, you find out like, hey, now we're actually on their planet, which is, pretty barren and all that stuff. You see a bunch of, it's the classic gladiator Colosseum situation that we're all familiar with, which I thought was cool.
It's like the Klingon homeworld.
100%.
Every one of those.
Like that.
That was exactly what I was thinking. Yep.
Yeah,
it's totally like the Yachtja and the Klingon are cousins. I know they are in some way.
And so I like that they did that. And then also you had the supposed king essentially coming out and being like, look, y'all need to figure it out, fight amongst yourselves. Whoever wins gets to fight me. But I also like the added detail of each person was they translated for each individual person's language. Mm-hmm, so yes. The Norse heard the Norse language, Japanese heard Japanese, and then Torres heard English. But I like that Torres was like, "Oh wait, you Japanese? Crap, I knew some Japanese."
And he tries, but clearly that is you speak you're speaking the language centuries after he spoke it. Right. So it's changed a lot. So, and I think that added to the overall, even though the Predators aren't the center focus in terms of the storytelling, they're the antagonists, but they do a good job of developing just how cunning the Predators are. You know, these warriors, they plucked them from 3 different centuries. They don't speak the language, and then they drop them in the middle of the arena and say, hey, you guys need to kill each other. But guess what? That's a great honor. Like, you don't understand how you're like the best of your species. You should feel great. And you could kill each other. And then whoever wins, I will be the one you'll face me.
You have the honor.
You have the honor of facing me. I'm the king. I'm the toughest one. You get to try to kill me.
So and let's double back for a second. It's worth noting that they're the best of the best because they've each taken down a predator, which is which as we know in that universe is no easy feat. Like, it's not as simple as, we go straight up. Like, the Predator, first and foremost, watched interactions where they were in conflict, where each individual was in conflict, and waited to see who emerged as the victor. And then that person had the honor. We realize that it's an honor thing now, and not just them stalking individuals for stalking's sake, like all the other movies, all the previous movies seem to allude to. It's more a matter of that you have the honor now of taking on someone who is probably, in all likelihood, you're better. At least on paper.
It's an absolute honor and privilege for them to seek out something that could potentially kill them.
Yes.
And kill it. Like, that's their culture.
Can we go back to Predator 1 and 2, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny Glover?
Sure.
How did the Predator look at Arnold and said he was the one when it was a team? Right.
Well, think about it. Think about the scenes. The Predator watches that entire team, and it took out other warriors that they had already sent in.
Did he look at the team as one unit, as worthy adversary, or did he look at one individual who was lasted the longest?
Because I think that Predator looked at it as the team. Like, the Jungle Predator was hunting each of them.
So what I'm getting at, the spirit of how a predator chooses its challenger is not just one individual. It's whoever is the best adversary that it deems that it can be taken out by.
Yes.
Yeah. Whatever it sees as big game, and not just big game, but like a fellow apex predator. Like, it doesn't want.
The movie tends to lend itself to saying it chooses one opponent, where in Predator 1, it chose the team as the opponent. And it was taking it down systematically one by one. Predator 2, it looked at Danny Glover as the guy to be the challenger, which I got to revisit because I don't see how he saw that, but because he's just.
Well, I recently rewatched. It was the first scene when he takes out a bunch of the drug. They were sort of working alongside as foils, where he was taking out all these warriors. So it was like, okay, you are the top dude, but I'm still going to hunt all these others as well. And I think that that's what the original films did that this one didn't. This one wasn't about each of the Predator just coming to Earth during a time where it was like a lot of chaos or heat and they can just go crazy because there's warriors everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, they go to the jungle and there's warriors everywhere. They go to the city and there's warriors everywhere. But this is like, no, I came here specifically because I want a Viking, and here they are. And so now I'm watching them, because he doesn't wait until Ursa is by herself. He attacks like literally when they finish he attacks the entire group. The ninja predator, however, seemed to be waiting it out to see which one
Right.
between the ninja and the samurai. So since we know how intelligent they are, it's possible that he had already pegged a ninja or a samurai to add to his collection. I think he had initially had his eye on the samurai. And the ninja was a surprise because he's watching the samurai the whole time. And then he notices that the ninja stealthily comes up. And that's when he goes into his stealth because he's like, okay, he could possibly see me because he's doing the same thing that I'm doing. So let me watch the situation. Let me see where he's going. Is he going after my prey? If that's the case, then let's see who emerges. And whoever wins that, I'm going to take their skull.
And
or they'll kill me.
I just want to say, I probably called this, I don't know how many years ago when the first Predator or second Predator movie came out, because I was like, well, what if it's a Predator versus He-Man or Predator versus X-Men? And I distinctly remember in my list, what about Predator versus a ninja as a kid? And I just threw it out there. So imagine my absolute delight when I get to see a Predator take on a Ninja Warrior. I cannot tell you how over the moon I was when I saw that. But the beauty of it was, it's the bet in my opinion, like with D, that's my favorite vignette of the bunch. Tied for first with the Viking one, because Ursa was a beast in the field of battle. I mean, she just decides, how do you want to attack? I'll just knock on the front door. And basically takes on an entire army by herself and bodies them all with just two shields.
Yeah, she's totally Lady Thor.
Oh. Yeah, 100%. And also too, like the other part I would say too, that going back to what Cam was saying, do they actually link back to some of the movies when all three of these warriors are now in the arena? They're like, oh, you guys have to kill each other, and the winner gets to fight me. But we also got you your armor,
weapons of choice,
your weapons.
Yeah.
So Ursa gets her battle axe, so she's super happy. Japanese dude gets his samurai sword. He's like, boom, bet. And then the American dude, he was just like, what? I get like a 1600 pea shooter?
Yeah, but if you notice, it's a really old manual load. Pouring the gunpowder and then pushing the pellet type of handgun.
And it's the same one from Predator 2. It's roughly from Predator 2 when Danny Glover gets the old school gun as a kind of the spoils at the end of it. So he sees that and he was just like, yo, wait, what do I got? What is this?
And remember, that gun appeared in Prey as well. And they used that gun.
That's right.
To defeat the Fuhrer Predator.
And so they kind of bring that together. And then, so to wrap up the last act of it, the one cool thing about it was, of course, they all kind of figure, okay, we got to kill each other. The Japanese, the ninja was basically like, look, me and my brother combined took a predator out. So we got to work together. Ursa is like, yo, my kid's already dead. I'm pissed. I'm going to kill everybody, until she kind of, comes along. And then the American was just like, again, he's not the warrior, but he's smart. And so, he gets himself swallowed essentially by a monster. Good. That, again, I didn't see that coming, but it was actually really fun.
It was fun. I laughed.
And so, but I like that they show that he wasn't a warrior per se in terms of his fighting skill,
but he had a ton of ingenuity.
His ingenuity, his intelligence, his cunning and all that kind of stuff. So he helped to kind of break that, and that actually brought them together to go ahead and fight the main dude. And I like that the main dude, when they're all fighting him, he literally was kind of like, you guys are ants, so this is fun. And he was just swatting them. And I like that the dominance was like, it wasn't even close to being like, oh, we could maybe, like us three could maybe take him. It wasn't even close, right? Like they showed how dominant he was to why he's the king of all of them as opposed to everyone else. And I like that they kind of brought that part in. And I also like that they showed them working together to kind of, take down the main dude.
Despite not being able to communicate with each other in their native tongues.
But also they showed how the predators are fair though, right? So, cause they could have easily cheated that. I mean, they didn't want them to escape, but they didn't like blow up the ship or anything like that. They let them go, and they're just like, hey, and
a new hunt.
He's like, are you ready for the hunt? And like they pull back, and you see like all these predator ships like flying after them, and I'm just like, they ain't got no shot.
Ships, not just all of these predator ships, an armada, huge armada.
Yeah.
And so I would say like
constantly lifting up, taking off, lifting up, taking off, lifting up. It was longer than it needed to be, but great watching.
And I think
what had to be like 20 ships take off.
Yeah, and I like that. So the end of the story, we're coming at the end, is the shield maiden. She sacrifices herself to kind of let her, the other two get away, which is great. But in true predator fashion, they're just like impressed. They're like, oh, cool. Like they capture her and they just freeze her again because they're like, yo, you were a true warrior. We're going to put you with the other true warriors that you have. And you get to see a vast, basically warehouse of all these little pods of assuming humans that you see in different types of species of warriors that they've captured over whatever amount of time. And this links back to Prey because in the last shot, you see the main protagonist from Prey. She's frozen and she's there too as well.
Thanks for the spoiler.
We're already here.
Sorry.
We're already here.
You see Nehru, and that's how they got the gun, obviously.
And so the implication is Arnold Schwarzenegger got frozen, Danny Glover got frozen.
If they have all of them.
My brain exploded when I was talking to D after I watched it. And so just sort of walking my way through all the different stuff. And then it dawned on me, oh, wait, if she's frozen, then Danny Glover and Arnold Schwarzenegger. My brain exploded real time.
They got
I didn't catch that right away.
It's only been humans that they hunt? Like,
no, other species as well. Like even the xenomorph, like they don't keep the xenomorph. Well, they do have the xenomorph kept in certain places. Like they have a queen to breed xenomorphs so they can hunt them. But they go after, even in Predators, the film with Adrian Brody from a few years ago, Lawrence Fishburne, when they put them on that preserved planet, they put other alien species on that planet with them too, that they were hunting. It's just a lot of them didn't survive. Only one of them did, and then the humans killed it. But yeah, they hunt any apex predator that has the whole shebang, like either is like a super aggressive organism or a super aggressive organism and sentient, sapient, intelligent.
Yeah. And so, and it was cool that at the end, it brings it full circle. So you see our protagonist, two of them leaving the ship, trying to get away. The shield maiden, she gets frozen. So she's back with the rest of the other warriors that they have. And then it kind of ends on that aspect of the chick from Prey. So that therefore, just like Josh says, now so if you've killed a predator in any time in any history, they come back and get you. They've come back and get you because they respect you as a warrior and they put you on ice for some type of future thing, which actually was really, really cool. So I think bring it back together, like this gives more weight and context to Predator's Badlands.
Man.
And also it just like, D talked about it before. It's like, again, back to Trachtenberg, where he basically took a franchise that was like dead-ish, not super dead, but it just wasn't, nothing was going on.
They were making really goofy movies by the time you get to Prey.
Prey came in, you had no expectations.
They made one really goofy movie, which was the Shane Black, the Predator. Man, because Predators was fine. And Predator 2 was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Predators, Shane Black messed that up. Anyways, but he put in a little bit of life into it. And I think with Prey, with this, and now with Badlands, now I actually have more expectations for Badlands.
Yeah.
Where now, and like, I like that the best thing about this, I will say the animation was, it just basically opened up the world more. It answered a bunch of questions that we had, but then also ones that we didn't have. And we're just like, oh, just like Josh said, that means Dutch is on ice. That means this person's on ice. Like it would just make sense that these people would be around. Yeah. So I think overall, like it just basically was a great, it was one of those things that Marvel used to do well, whereas like they would add things into something, the overall narrative that would add to it. And it wouldn't take away from anything else that's going on, but it would just give you more meat in the bones, expand the world and the world building like that. Like this film specifically just expands the Predator world so much that makes it really, really cool.
Yep, agreed.
I agree. And one quick note before
get the final word. Get the final word.
Well, just before we signed, I went back and watched Prey after I saw Nehru in this film. And sure enough, in the credits, after you go through that whole mural, that, you know, the artwork of her story, after she defeats the Predator, they show the artwork of her and the dog are like return to normal life. And then you see the clouds break and there's a Predator ship. And then it cuts to black. So Dan Trachtenberg had already set that up. He had already, he knew that he wanted to, where he wanted to go. It's just a matter of if he would have the chance to do it.
Yeah, that's dope. I'm glad I actually gave him the plans. And honestly, he might necessarily be like he's the James Gunn of this little situation, and it might actually be fun. So, once again, thanks for everybody listening. This is really fun. This is a good movie. Go watch it. I implore all of it, from the animation to the storyline to just the world building in general. It was just super fun.
Real quick. Scale of 1 to 10. I give it 10 out of 10. I already said 10 out of 10.
I give it a 10 out of 10. Why not?
D'Angelo?
Come on, D. You can do it. 9.8.
It's hard to give anything 10 out of 10, but you know what? I'll give it a provisional 10 out of 10 because I can't think of a reason not to.
Yep, there you go. I'm with it. 10 out of 10 across the board. Everybody go watch it.
Get that out of me. I'm gonna watch this tonight.
Yeah. Be the contrarian, Cam.
Even a provisional 10 out of 10 is a big deal. Oh my goodness.
Well, Cam will have way more standards when it comes to the animation, to animate, than I do. So he might. He'll. Cam, if you don't like this, we fighting. We got between the opposing jerseys and not liking this. Like, if it's one thing if you have nitpicks and problems, cool. But if you don't like it, I can't conceive of a scenario where you don't.
Bruh, don't bring football into this.
As long as I don't hear no sinners type discourse around Predators, we gonna be all right.
Jesus.
No,
I don't see that coming.
No, you're safe. You're safe.
That happens. I know that we've crossed the line.
Yeah, no.
All right,
I'll definitely watch it tonight and chime in offline about how
you'll like it.
Copy that.
For sure. All right, everybody, once again, this is Blerdlines. Thank you for listening, and we out.
Later.